"Auntie Zainab, please, I beg you in the name of God. Just small water to wash my daughter's hair." The woman's voice cracked as she knelt in the dust outside Zainab's compound gate, her 7-year-old daughter clutching her wrapper. But Zainab didn't even look down. She adjusted her headscarf, stepped over the woman's outstretched hand, and walked past as if she were invisible. "Water is not free in this village," Zainab said coldly. "If your husband cannot dig a well, that is not my problem." The little girl began to cry, her fingers scratching at her scalp. Her hair, thick, long, and beautiful, was matted with dust and sweat. In the entire village of Gidan Kaya, she was the only child born with a full head of hair. Every other child, every adult, every elder bald, smooth-skinned from birth. It was the way of the land, the mark of their ancestry. But this one girl was different. And because of that, her mother had become the lowest woman in the village. Zainab watched them walk away, their shadows long and bent in the evening sun. She smiled to herself. Power, she thought, this is what power feels like. Zainab was not just any woman in Gidan Kaya. She was the daughter of the former village head. Her father's compound was the largest. Her late husband had been a trader. She owned the only deep well that never ran dry, even in the worst harmattan. And because of that, every woman in the village had to bow to her. Every man respected her. Every child feared her. But respect was not enough for Zainab. She wanted to be worshipped. Her daughter-in-law, Rakiya, learned this the hard way. Rakiya was a small, soft-spoken woman from a neighboring village. When she married Zainab's son, Musa, she came with nothing but a good heart and willing hands. She greeted everyone. She worked from sunrise to moonlight. She prayed 5 times a day and never raised her voice. But Zainab hated her. "Musa," Zainab's voice thundered through the compound one afternoon. "Come and see the nonsense your wife has done." Musa rushed out from the back, worry on his face. "Mama, what happened?" Zainab pointed at a pot of jollof rice sitting on the firewood stand. "Taste it. Go on, taste it and tell me if that is food or poison." Rakiya stood nearby, her hands trembling. She had cooked the rice with care, just as Zainab taught her. But she knew, whatever she did, it would not be enough. Musa took a spoon, tasted it, and paused. "Mama, it is fine, it is good." "Good," Zainab's eyes flashed. "You call this good? Is this how I trained you? To accept rubbish from a lazy woman?" "Mama, I'm not lazy." "Shut up." Zainab's hand flew up, and though she did not strike, Rakiya flinched as if she had. "You will not talk when I am talking. Do you hear me? In this house I am the mother, I am the elder. You are nothing but a stranger I allowed to enter." Musa opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at his wife. He looked at his mother. And then, quietly, he walked back inside. Rakiya's tears came silently, rolling down her cheeks as she knelt to pour out the rice. She said nothing. She had learned that silence was her only shield. But silence did not save her. Weeks later, during a family gathering, Zainab stood in front of everyone, uncles, aunts, neighbors, and said loudly, "This girl cannot cook. She cannot clean. She is slow and she is stubborn. I don't know what my son saw in her." Rakiya sat on a low stool in the corner, her head down, her hands folded in her lap. The other women glanced at her with pity, but no one spoke. To challenge Zainab was to lose access to her well, her favor, her voice in the village. One of the aunts whispered, "Zainab, the girl is trying." "Trying," Zainab laughed bitterly. "If trying was enough, we would all be queens, but it is not. She is useless." That night, Rakiya packed her things. She did not cry. She did not argue. She simply left a note on Musa's mat that said, "I cannot stay where I am hated. Forgive me." When Musa woke and found her gone, he ran to his mother. "Mama, Rakiya has left." Zainab sipped her tea slowly. "Good, let her go. A woman with no backbone does not belong in this house." Musa stood there, his chest tight, his fists clenched. But he said nothing. Because in Gidan Kaya, a son does not challenge his mother, even when his heart is breaking. 6 months later, Musa remarried. Her name was Hauwa, a trader's daughter, bold and clever. Zainab approved of the marriage quickly. "Finally," she said, "a woman with sense." But it did not take long. Hauwa lasted 8 months. The breaking point came when Hauwa dared to correct Zainab in front of guests. "Auntie, forgive me, but that is not how you prepare kunu. You will spoil the taste." The silence that followed was heavy as stone. Zainab's voice came low and sharp. "What did you say to me?" Hauwa realized her mistake too late. I was only." "You were only what? Teaching me? Me who was making kunu before your mother was born." Zainab rose slowly from her seat, her eyes cold. "You think because you sold goods in the market you are now wise. You are nothing, nothing." Hauwa tried to apologize, but it was useless. From that day, Zainab's cruelty became sharper. She criticized everything: Hauwa's cooking, her cleaning, her voice, her walk. She made sure the whole compound heard. And just like Rakiya, Hauwa left quietly one evening, her eyes red but her head high. Musa did not even try to stop her. He had become a ghost in his own home, a man hollowed out by obedience. The compound grew quieter. The neighbors whispered. Even the children stopped playing near Zainab's gate. The woman who once commanded respect now lived in a house that felt like a tomb. But Zainab did not care. She had won. She was still in control. Until Amina arrived. Amina was Musa's third wife, chosen by a distant uncle who pitied him. She came from a small village no one had heard of. She was thin, dark-skinned, and plain. She did not speak much. She did not smile much. She simply worked. Zainab looked at her the first day and thought, "This one will break in a week." But Amina did not break. When Zainab shouted, Amina listened in silence. When Zainab insulted her, Amina lowered her eyes and said, "Yes, Ma." When Zainab gave her impossible tasks, washing all the compound clothes by hand, fetching water from the well 12 times in one afternoon, cooking 3 meals before noon, Amina did them without complaint. At first, Zainab was satisfied. Finally, she thought, a wife who knows her place. But then something strange began to happen. Amina never asked for anything. Not once. She never begged for water, never requested help, never cried, and strangest of all, she never looked afraid. One evening, Zainab sat outside her hut and watched Amina working by the firewood. The girl moved with calm, steady hands. Her face was unreadable. Zainab called out, "Amina." "Yes, Ma." "Why are you so quiet?" Amina paused, then said softly, "I have nothing to say, Ma." Zainab felt something twist in her chest. "Are you not afraid of me?" Amina looked up for the first time. Her eyes were not defiant, but they were not weak either. "I fear only Allah, Ma." The words hung in the air. Zainab tried to respond, but her tongue felt heavy. She waved her hand dismissively. "Go, continue your work." But that night, Zainab could not sleep. She lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling, replaying Amina's words. "I fear only Allah." For the first time in years, Zainab felt something she had forgotten: unease. Days turned into weeks. Amina continued to work in silence, but slowly, the compound began to change. Musa, who had not smiled in months, began to hum while fixing the roof. The neighbors, who had avoided Zainab's compound, started greeting Amina warmly. Even the children came to sit near her while she cooked, watching her hands move with quiet grace. And Zainab began to feel invisible. One afternoon, a neighbor woman named Hadiza came to fetch water. Zainab sat outside, expecting the usual greeting, the usual deference. But Hadiza walked straight past her and went to Amina. "Amina, my sister, how are you?" Amina smiled gently. "I am well, Auntie, and you?" "By God's grace. You know your food yesterday, the one you sent through Musa, it was the sweetest thing I have tasted in years." Zainab's hands tightened around her walking stick. Hadiza continued, "You have brought peace to this compound. Everyone is saying it. Musa is a different man now." Amina lowered her eyes humbly. "It is all Allah's doing, Auntie." When Hadiza left, Zainab stood slowly. Her chest felt tight, her breathing shallow. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw Amina out, but something stopped her. Fear. That night, Zainab lay awake again. Her mind raced. Why does everyone love her? What has she done? She is nothing. She has nothing. And yet, for the first time, Zainab realized the truth she had been running from her whole life. She was alone. The next morning, Zainab fell ill. A fever came suddenly, burning through her body. She called for Musa, but he was in the farm. She called for the neighbors, but they were slow to come. It was Amina who appeared at her door. "Ma, I brought water and medicine." Zainab looked up weakly. Why are you helping me?" Amina knelt beside her, gently placing a cool cloth on her forehead. "Because you are my mother, and I am your daughter." Tears, hot, bitter, unfamiliar, slid down Zainab's face. I have been wicked to you." "Yes, Ma." "I drove away 2 good women." "Yes, Ma." I thought power was control. I thought respect was fear." Amina's voice was soft. "Respect is earned, Ma, not taken." Zainab closed her eyes. Shame, thick and suffocating, filled her chest. "Forgive me." Amina took her hand. "I forgive you, Ma." And in that moment, something broke inside Zainab, not in pain, but in release. Weeks later, Zainab was strong again, but she was different. She no longer shouted. She no longer controlled. She asked instead of commanded. She listened instead of spoke. The compound transformed. Laughter returned. Musa smiled openly. Neighbors visited freely. Even Rakiya and Hauwa, hearing of the change, returned to visit. There was no anger, only peace. One evening, Zainab sat with Amina under the neem tree. "How did you do it?" Zainab asked quietly. "How did you survive me?" Amina smiled. "I did not survive you, Ma. I just refused to become you." Zainab nodded slowly, her eyes wet. "You taught me what I refused to learn. That power without love is just cruelty, and cruelty always eats itself." The lesson of Gidan Kaya spread beyond the compound, beyond the village. It became a story mothers told their daughters, a warning fathers gave their sons. Pride destroys families, humility builds them, and karma does not shout, it simply waits. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you. Treat people with kindness because the world turns and one day you may need the mercy you refuse to give. Share this story. Pray for patience. And remember, no matter how powerful you think you are, love is always stronger.